Hello, everybody, and welcome to the May 28th Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling. He's Richard Migliore.
And I like what we have to look at today. There's a couple of subtle trips, little things that maybe you wouldn't pick up on, and a couple that are glaring, but I think they're all good examples of horses that we're just unlucky.
Yeah, and I think it's good sometimes to talk about these races, and there were trips that sometimes I think I kind of maybe, I wouldn't say I jumped to conclusions in the first one a little bit, but it's not clear what happened in the first race we're going to watch, which is the 6th race from May 20th. And this is a race where you had a woefully slow pace on front, even unusually slow for the inner course. And the 4 memories of Peter, you know, it's a real question. You don't want to jump on the riders, and maybe I did jump a little on Jose Lezcano. I think rides great and been riding great. He steadies this horse out. The question is, Richie, what happened because he gets shuffled to the back of the pack?
Yeah, my first impression, too, was, well, he should have been more aggressive. But then when I watched the head-on, he actually broke, went a stride, bobbled, picked himself up, went another stride or two, bobbled again. And breaking on that inner turf course, you do kind of come up over a little bit of a hump, and I think the horse lost his footing a bit, and then he got squeezed. Because you know yourself, Andy, when we watch races on that inner turf, if you're not in there, you get accordioned out when you're in the middle.
Well, you know, it's twofold, Richie. As we've shown time and time again on the show, the start is the most important time of the race. And the reason it's the most important time is, well, there's 2 reasons. One is that sets the table for the entire race, but any small mistake will get exaggerated at the start. A little steady becomes completely out of position.
Yes.
So you've already got that in the start, and then you get this weird course where it's going to exaggerate things even more, so the little trouble really blows up on Memories of Peter.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect way to put it. It really blew up on him. You're braking on the outside of the main course. You got to run up over the main course, down onto the inner course, and then hang that little left. And then I think what compounded his trip, too, was the 3-horse, which he's just getting up next to right now, was steadying so hard in his face. And from a rider's perspective, you're not sure where to go. Is he going to come all the way back in my face? Do I go inside of him, outside of him? It took him a long time to be able to get around that horse and his trouble.
And he's even caught behind horses at this point with nowhere to go. And I think this is one of these things when Jose realized what happened early. It was a slow pace, and he had no chance in here. And frankly, I think the horse ran very, very well to finish a reasonably close 4th, beaten just 4 lengths.
Well, like you said, the pace was glacial. I mean, we've seen slow paces here. This was even slow for what we're getting used to seeing. And this horse that's, you know, the horses in front are really finishing. So the fact that he's gaining any ground at all speaks to how well he ran.
Yeah, no, this was a good performance. And he's not a horse that possesses a lot of speed, but he didn't have to be as far back, and it may have been just some bad luck. And you can watch him. It's a little tough to see.
Yeah, but keep your eye just on his head. Right there, he bobbled a little bit. And now he's going to get up. You can kind of see him run uphill. And in here, he's going to bobble again.
Yep.
Right there. And
Comes over.
Yeah, and now the other horses are coming over. And I think the second bobble basically took any chance he had away to hold his position.
Yeah, it's tough to see. It's hard to see.
Yep.
And it's not one of these clear-cut situations where somebody cut him off, where he was forced to steady. And I think it probably has a lot to do with the course, too, as well.
And what has a lot to do with the course, and also when you have experience over this course, you kind of anticipate what's coming. And I think sometimes you have to get back out of there completely before you get shut off, you know, and really have to check, or who knows, maybe even clip heels. And I think once he bobbled and wasn't able to give Jose the confidence that he could hold his ground, he had to come out of there.
One of these days I'm going to get you to walk the course, you and Mitch, and tape the thing and talk about it, because I know you and I have talked about this course for 20 years. I mean, this is something we've discussed a lot. In a lot of ways, that 1.16 miles on the inner is the most interesting race that we run in any of our races at NYRA throughout the year.
It is very unique, and you know what? I want to do that. It'll give people a different insight in what the riders are dealing with, and what they're looking at when they're in the starting gate.
Yeah, it's a very tricky situation. In this case, Memories of Peter was unlucky, and he ran a good race. We're going to go on to a race, the 3rd race from May 21st, and this was a heavy favorite, General Ann, that runs 2nd. And we want to talk about it. You know, we don't want to beat up on Javier Castellano, but you know what? He wins a lot of races. He rides great all the time. We'll beat up on him a little bit. I think, though, it was a combination here of a horse that, A, isn't that good. He made one wrong decision, and he got unlucky, and Jose Lezcano rode the race very well.
Yeah, Jose Lezcano had the favorite basically in his sights and tactically had an advantage over him. I know some people will say, well, Javier Castellano's on a horse that's 2-5. And this is where I have a lot of sympathy for him. The horses that are around you are 26 and 28-1. You don't want to be engaged with horses that don't have a chance and soften you up. So he did the right thing. He eased back out of here. Here's where I thought he made the mistake. I thought once he got back out of there, if you're supposedly on Much the Best, just put her in the clear.
Yeah.
And now Jose Lezcano's going to have to wonder, do I go around him or do I go inside him? He's got to make a decision. Instead, Jose Lezcano makes Javier Castellano have to make a decision, and then he takes it away from him.
Well, the thing is, he's asking her a little bit here, and she's not moving forward here. And I wondered a little there if that's when you wanted to get her out, and she didn't respond.
Well,
now
it's a good point. I don't think she accelerated enough or gave him enough of a feeling about acceleration to go forward. And then Jose moved and said, no, now you're going to stay there, and I've just made your mind up for you. And now Javier's looking for room, and Jose's not going on.
No, this is perfect.
This
is great.
I got you where I want you. I'm going to sit still here for a little bit.
This is great. There's Javi, and Jose's out there in the pink. I mean, this really is a fun race to watch. It's obviously over, and, for those people that need this horse to pick 5 at a short price, it's still annoying. But this is a bad decision by Javier that gets completely exacerbated by his horse and what Jose did to him on the only other horse with a real chance on paper.
Well, and then when he went to try to split horses, the door closed on him. He got kind of bottled up. Finally, he shakes free. And I think this is a clear illustration of when you ride a big favorite, you have a target on your back. Everybody knows if they can beat you, they got a chance to win.
Well, that's the exact point. I mean, obviously, you would like to ride 2 to 5 shots every single time you get on a horse.
Sure.
But on the other hand, there's a little extra pressure with a 2 to 5 shot because if you make a mistake and screw it up, then you look really bad.
And the guys around you here are good enough to be aware of where you are and what they have to do to compromise your trip legally. It's kind of like when you have to drive a bit defensively. You know that basically you're the guy everybody's looking for, and you've got to be a little bit unpredictable at times, and sometimes ride a little bit safe where, all right, I'm the best, I just need to get in the clear.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you wanted to think he could have gotten the clear. Maybe she didn't have the horse. She was claimed. Lucky for the people who claimed her, she still has the condition.
Yep.
As we move on to the 7th race on May 21st, I wanted to show a race from the Widener during the week, a course that during the week with the rails out, and maybe it'll continue this week, outside runners have had an advantage. And we want to talk also about the 5 horse, who we'll get to in a second, but the 6 and those dogwood silks. This is a great example of what Richie talks about a lot, of a rider getting his position going forward.
And just because you get that position going forward doesn't mean you're committed to being on the lead, and I think that's what Cornelio Velasquez did so well here. He went on enough, let the field spread out a little bit. I'll ease back, I'll wind up having options, and he did a really nice job, very subtly easing back, not getting heavy-handed with his horse.
No, I thought this was a good ride of keeping him going forward, but not getting engaged with the horse. And the horse in front finishes last in this race, and Cornelio now gets into a very, very nice spot because the other 2 pull up outside the speed, and he's able to get a very good tracking trip. The 5 horse in here, Secret Fortune, the 8 to 5 favorite, I think 7 furlongs was too far for this horse today. He had a 5 furlong win. He's coming off a couple-month layoff. He just wasn't sharp enough, but I still think he ran pretty well in the context of the race.
He ran really well. He was in the bridle. He was pulling on Rajiv Maharaj, and what compounded that was the horse outside of a man of many virtues kind of kept him, eager. When they got pressure from the outside, a horse that tends to be a little keen is going to stay in the bridle. This horse actually ran a really big race for as hot as the pace was.
He really did, and I think also Glowing Ember did as well, but it was an exceptional ride by Cornelio Velasquez because by getting his position going forward, he was able to dictate where he was going to be in the race, and they created some separation. The winner, frankly, was a little lucky. Not trying to knock him, but he took advantage of everything that happened to the others, and he made that nice outside run.
Yeah, he had the perfect trip. You're watching, as a rider, you're watching what's going on in front of you, and you know they're going quick, and you're just really basically rubbing your hands together going, oh, boy, this is playing right into my hands. Get him in the clear, let him make that one run, and pick up the pieces.
And it worked out very well for him. But Glowing Ember, a terrific ride for second for Cornelio Velasquez. And Secret Fortune, they may want to go 6. You want horses that were near the pace in this race going forward, including a man of many virtues. This is the Saturday, May 30th card. Race number 7 on May 24th, a very interesting maiden race. We're going to show the head on. The favorite arbitrator, the odds-on favorite, finishes 3rd. Kind of a little unlucky with the inside position, Richie.
Yeah, and you're going to see a horse coming over from the outside. Like, I think sometimes the chestnut horse, the white face, kind of starts accordioning everybody that way. He gets pushed into the gap, bumped around too, and it's really hard to ever quantify how much that body contact at the start takes away from a horse air-wise, not position. I mean, obviously the position we can look at, but I think it's just hard on them physically.
Here's the runner-up in the Shadwell Silks. The eventual winner is out in white silks out there, the Bill Mott horse, the 9. The 2 gets into trouble. He's out of position. He gets shuffled a little bit. Do you think, in retrospect, that Joel should have been a little more aggressive going forward there, or do you think maybe he was kind of in tight?
I think he was in tight. I think once he kind of got off that kind of sloppy start and pushed in and bumped around, I don't think it would have been a prudent thing to go forward, particularly because I thought the pace of this race was very strong as well. I think he kind of got dealt a bad hand, and you can see he's never really in a comfortable position, but post positions play a big part in that.
Yeah, no, I think the post position did him in, and with the outside post for the 9, gave him all the options in the world because he's seeing the entire playing field in front of him. But we want to talk about who ran the best race of these 3. And I think because the 2 was the big favorite and he had some trouble and he was shuffled out, the 9 circles the field. But the 5, Abdar, who fights it out to the wire, he was in the teeth of the pace the entire way. The horse was in front, Bluegrass Rye, 50-1 or not. He runs 8th in this race, beaten almost 9 or 10 lengths.
Well, they went the first quarter in 23-2, and then they went 46 flat. So they actually went 22 and change in the middle of it. I mean, that's really, really running, right? Or do I have that right?
No, you have it right.
Yeah.
You have it right. The run-up sort of plays into that. But they're flying up front. No, they're moving up front. There's no doubt about it.
And this horse fought all the way to the wire where the eventual winner, I mean, yeah, he's getting that outside kind of balcony
there he is right
move,
there.
but
And there's the 2.
you could kind of see he was so comfortable out in the clear, getting in a big rhythm, and I found it interesting that he ran his first start long on the grass, actually ran pretty well there, and then they put him on the dirt. Gave you the feeling they knew he wanted to go long. It was just the easiest spot to get him started, the grass race.
It feels like, and Bill Mott has done that, and we pointed that out with a formulator stat, that Bill has good numbers making a move like that, and this horse has a dirt pedigree for Windstar. I'm very impressed by Abdar, and I think that Arbitrator was unlucky.
Yes.
Whether or not he I think he did run a winning race in here. I don't think anyone would argue against that. But I think you have to ask yourself the question because you've got 3 very distinct situations here. You've got the 5 who fought it out in a fast pace the whole way.
Right.
You've got the 9 who made a wide move, but he had that very good, comfortable trip. And then you had the 2 who was saving ground, but he had trouble and got shuffled out. Which one ran the best race?
Well, to me, the second horse, Abdar, ran the best race. He fought it out. Even inside the 16th ball, it looked like there was a chance he was going to come back or fight off the eventual winner, Closing Bell. I actually thought Closing Bell ran the 3rd best race of everybody. I thought Arbitrator, with the troubled start, then having to pick his way through the field, get in the clear, and still finish the way he did. I think he was second best on the day. I really do think the second-place finisher was the best horse. But it also underscores how much the best a young horse has to be because they're still, green. They're still inexperienced. To break from the inside, going a mile 16th, mile and an eighth here at Belmont Park, there's a lot of empty space to their inside, and I always give an advantage. If you like 2 horses, I would always lean to the one to the outside because I just think it's an easier trip for them.
Unless you feel like you're the lone speed or something down the inside, or there's a couple that are going to clear off and it's a smaller field. But in a big field, he just was very unlucky. I agree with your assessment of this race. I think they're all pretty good horses. But I think, and I like the winner, so there's certainly no sour grapes on any of them. But I have to agree with you. I want the horse that fought it out the whole way as opposed to the horses that were picking him up at the end.
Yeah.
We'll take one more race to look at. And we're going to look at the Bowery from Monday's card. And this is the 7th race on Monday. Kazan, the winner, was very impressive, but a horse who breaks very sharply in here is Hot City Gal in those easy-to-see magenta silks, and this may be a situation where the rider made a mistake in not getting his position going forward.
When a horse breaks like that and you kind of catch a bit of a flyer, I think I want to go forward more. So if anybody really wants it, they're going to use their horses more. Now you wind up in this position where you're 4th, going to be 5th in a second, stuck in between horses in front of you. There is no empty space for you. There's no place for your horse to get comfortable and breathe.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very, very good way to put it. And you're going to see him between horses. He's sort of steadying along right now in the magenta, and you're going to see him steady out badly in here. And it's interesting. Jose Ortiz and Linda Rice, the trainer and jockey here, they teamed up with Sharifa 2 races later, and they had a plan, and they sent to the front. They went fast, and nobody could catch them. In this race, she spends a good portion of the race getting shuffled out of position, Richie.
Well, it's interesting. Makes you wonder if this trip didn't make them commit to what they did with Sharifa. Might have made him win the critical eye, right?
I think Linda knew that Sharif was a speed, but watching this, she must have gotten a little frustrated, and I wonder if it had something to do with it. This horse steadies on a number of occasions, and even here is trying to move forward, gets the door kind of slammed, and Jose just has to go to the inside. She had a tough trip.
She really had a tough trip, and I don't think either one of us believed that she would have beaten the eventual winner, Kazan. But I easily could have seen her second with a decent trip, and I think once he got back in between horses and 5th there, maybe he had to be more aggressive and get up on the heels of the horse in front of him to make sure he didn't get shuffled back out of that spot, because basically you're already in a bad position. Now it's just compounded once you get shuffled back out of from between them.
I mean, it's like that line, and is it in The Color of Money when he says, like a nightmare, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And this ride, I just think for Jose, it just, he got a little unlucky, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And I love the fact that she was still running at the end. I like a horse that has trouble, but is not deterred by it.
And she did run on, and let's go back to the start now. She broke so well. How many times we've seen a horse break very sharply, whether they're a speed horse or not, it kind of signals that they're on their game, that they're going to run a big race. And I think this filly showed she was on a big race.
We saw that with a long shot. Frazel, who won on the turf at 40-1, broke like a shot out of the gate, eased back, but it's an absolute fact. When these horses break sharply, it's an indication that they're sharp. Once again, we can always use your help. It's trips and traps at NYRANK.com.